The moment it happened, his entire world seemed to stop breathing. One accidental step, one door pushed open at the wrong second, and a sight he was never meant to see shattered the fragile balance of his life. In that single frozen heartbeat, a tired single father, carrying years of silent sacrifices, stood face to face with his powerful boss in a moment that would change them both forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of ordinary people, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who loves emotional stories, subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt narratives, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive. Ethan Carter had learned to move through life carefully, like a man afraid of breaking something precious with one wrong step. Ever since his wife passed away, the world had felt heavier, slower, and far less forgiving. Every morning began before sunrise, with the soft sounds of his 6-year-old daughter breathing in the next room, and the ache in his chest that never fully went away. He worked not for ambition, not for praise, but for stability, for school lunches packed neatly in brown bags, for shoes that fit growing feet, for bedtime stories read with a tired smile, even when his soul felt exhausted. His job as an executive assistant at a prestigious firm was the only thing holding his carefully stacked life together. And at the top of that towering corporate world stood Victoria Reynolds, a woman known for her sharp mind, flawless professionalism, and emotional distance. To everyone else she was intimidating, untouchable, almost cold. To Ethan she was simply his boss, the woman who signed his paychecks and unknowingly kept his daughter's future secure. He admired her from a distance, not in a romantic way, but with respect mixed with fear. She represented a world he would never belong to, a world where mistakes were not forgiven easily. That evening, after a brutal 12-hour workday and an emergency meeting that ran late, Ethan was sent to deliver a confidential folder to Victoria's hotel suite during a business trip. His mind was already racing with thoughts of missed bedtime calls and whether his daughter had finished her homework. He knocked, heard what he thought was a muffled response, and stepped inside without thinking. What he saw lasted only a second, but it burned itself into his memory forever. Victoria, startled and vulnerable, standing there in a moment of private humanity no one was ever meant to witness. The silence between them was deafening. Ethan felt his heart drop, shame flooding his veins as if he had committed an unforgivable crime. He turned away instantly, stammering apologies, his face burning with humiliation and fear. But it wasn't what he saw that broke him inside. It was what came after. Victoria's reaction wasn't anger. It wasn't shouting or threats. It was the look on her face. Shock gave way to something far more painful to witness: deep embarrassment, vulnerability, and a flash of fear that mirrored his own. In that instant, Ethan saw not the untouchable executive, but a human being stripped of armor. And somehow, that made everything worse. The next days were unbearable. Ethan expected termination, legal consequences, or at the very least, a cold professional distancing. Instead, Victoria became quieter. Meetings were shorter. Emails were colder. The air between them felt heavy, unspoken, and suffocating. Ethan blamed himself endlessly. He stopped sleeping. He replayed the moment over and over, wondering how one small accident could threaten the fragile life he had built for his daughter. At home, his little girl noticed the change. The smiles were forced. The laughter faded faster. The bedtime stories ended sooner. Ethan carried guilt like a weight on his chest, terrified that one misunderstanding could take everything away from him. He had already lost too much in life. He couldn't afford to lose this job too. Weeks passed, and the tension finally cracked during a late-night office cleanup. Victoria asked him to stay behind. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. What followed wasn't an accusation or a warning, but something neither of them expected: honesty. She spoke about loneliness, about living in a glass tower where power isolated her from real human connection. She admitted that his reaction that night, the immediate respect, the turning away, the genuine remorse, had shaken her assumptions about people, especially men in positions beneath her. For the first time, Ethan spoke not as an employee, but as a man. He shared his story, his loss, his daughter, the quiet battles he fought every single day. There was no pity in her eyes, only understanding. Two broken people, standing on opposite sides of power and pain, finally seeing each other clearly. From that night on, things began to change. Not magically, not easily, but honestly. Victoria softened. Ethan stood taller. Trust replaced tension. Respect grew deeper. Their relationship transformed into something rooted in empathy and mutual dignity. Ethan was promoted not out of guilt, but recognition. Victoria began using her power differently, with more humanity, more compassion. Years later, Ethan would look back on that moment not as the worst day of his life, but as the most transformative. It taught him that even the most painful misunderstandings can open doors to healing if handled with humility and grace. That strength isn't loud. That dignity can exist even in embarrassment. And that sometimes, the moments that break us are the same ones that quietly rebuild us, stronger than before. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and let us know in the comments how it made you feel. Your engagement truly means everything.